Avoid contact with your eyes. Well, that seems like good advice. Hey everybody, Luxinda here. Welcome back to the loo. We are going to test out some new things I just got. I'm really excited about it. These are different surfaces we will be testing them on. Here are the things we will be testing. These are all new, as far as I know. They were touted as being brand new from Dina Wakley, along with artists like Tim Holtz, Simon Hurley. These folks all have their own lines of things that get sold at various art supply stores. I'm sorry, I was reading her signature wrong. They don't put it in print anywhere. It's only here. It's Dina, I believe, D-I-N-A, Dina Wakley Media Gloss Spray. It's a gloss acrylic spray. It is not, I don't believe, it looks like there's a little powder in it, but I actually don't think it's a mica. I don't think it's supposed to be shimmery, just shiny. So we have fuchsia, magenta. That's like no magenta I have ever seen. But okay. Lime, ocean, turquoise, and lemon. There are actually a lot of other colors, but the whole collection costs a lot of money. And these smaller collections, I got the one that's the brightest. I wanted the brightest colors. This time of year especially makes me think of spring, so we're going to do bright colors. And we are going to test them on different kinds of paper. I have here alcohol ink paper, which is actually a plastic, so that should be interesting. They'll just sit on top and dry. And then we have some mixed media paper, which things can soak into a little bit, and watercolor paper, which tends to not soak up things, but it will probably look different on this surface. So I just wanted to try those out. We might actually spray some on regular paper, but the other thing I was hoping to do once we're done with the paper tests is spray some of these colors onto my gel plate and then let it dry. Actually, we could do it two ways. We could spray them on and just do a press right away. That makes for an interesting press at first, and then if you let it dry and you put some white paint over the top, you can pull everything off and that looks completely different. So we'll probably do both of those things. So let's get going. I'm going to start by unwrapping all of these and shaking them up. You don't have to watch me do that. Talk about boring, huh? Boring! Should have done that before I even started filming, but do I think about these things? No. Not until the camera's turned on and it's like, oh, right, it's not unwrapped yet. Okay, Media Gloss Spray is an opaque acrylic spray that dries to a glossy finish. Spray into media journals, onto chipboard shapes, media board, and other porous surfaces. Gloss sprays are water-soluble when wet and permanent when dry. Shake well before use. Clean spray nozzle after each use. Avoid contact with your eyes. Well, that seems like good advice. Start with our biggest piece of paper. Which I can get out my great big sheets of rice paper too. That's probably fun. Just start here. So my guess is that whatever this is, this powder-like substance, this white stuff at the bottom, is probably part of what makes it shiny because, again, I don't think there's any shimmer to these. It's also not mixing in very well. So I'll shake for a while and then we'll just go ahead and use it. All right, so this is the turquoise. It's very pretty. Obviously, we won't get to see the shine until it dries, and then we'll do a tilt for glare sort of thing and see if we can get the shine to show up on camera. This is the very dubiously named magenta. Fuchsia. Ocean. Lemon. That's pretty. And, of course, lime. And these are very spring Easter colors, aren't they? No doubt about that. Okay. Get out my big ass sheets of rice paper. All right, so this is going to be the alcohol ink paper, meaning it's not really paper at all. This is polypropylene. These would make very pretty backgrounds in a journal. So far, I've used them obviously on paper that's not particularly porous, or in this case on plastic, which is definitely not porous. So, you know, we have some some beading, some fish eyes, whatever you want to call them. I was just curious to see how it would work. Okay, mixed media paper is a bit more porous. It's still pretty flat, smooth texture. Smooth, not textured, something like that. Okay. And this stuff is quite porous. So let's just go to town on this thing. I'm still getting some beading, but or what would you call it? It is fish eyes. I mean, technically, but it is sinking in, so it's not as mottled as the other ones were. That's really pretty. Yeah, I can see using this in a journal. That's really lovely. I don't think it'll be particularly shiny in this case, but we'll find out when it dries. I'll try it on a gel plate. This is my well-used, well-loved gel plate that's already been very stained by different types of art crayons and alcohol inks, so I'm not worried about this at all. So I suspected it's going to bead up, and that's okay. I keep getting the yellow one. All right. Just as I suspect, this will just make a bunch of blotches, but we'll see. So some just regular copy paper. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. It's not unpretty. Is that a word? Unpretty? Doesn't suck, you know. All right, I'm gonna spray some more on, and then we're gonna let it dry. And we're gonna see what comes up, so to speak. I'm being a little less precise here. So I want more surface coverage. I could use the brayer, I have it out, but I just want to see what the sprays look like. There we go. All right, gonna let everything dry onto the plate, and then we're gonna come back and put some white paint on it and see what happens. We are back. Okay, everything looks to be pretty much dry. Before we look at the papers, I wanted to pull this because I'm curious about it. So let's just do that. We have it here. So I think these are dry. There are a couple places that they look a little, but this stuff is supposed to dry shiny, so deceptive, but it is dry, even though it still looks wet. So I'm going to take some Liquitex Basics acrylic paint in titanium white and just put little dollops of it around our gel plate here. A little bit. And brayer it around till I get coverage over the whole thing. And because these dry permanent, we're not reactivating them. Like if we had Brusho crystals on here, the paint would actually, the moisture in the paint would be reactivating the Brusho. So that kind of makes things messy. But this is dry ink on here, so should be set. Won't move around. Okay. Try and get this as even a layer as I can get it. Oops. So one thing, I wish it would just not do that. Okay. Clean off our brayer a little bit. This is, again, just plain old white copy paper. Put that down, and I think I'll use the brayer to get full even pressure. You don't have to. You can use your hands. Some people like to do that because then they come in contact with it. They're feeling it, you know. Okay, that should be good. Let's see what we got. Ooh, that is cool. I picked up almost all, actually did, it picked up all the ink. Everything I'm seeing now is the snail drawing that's on the other side. Look at that, that's so pretty. I really like that. I really like it. Okay, let's put this guy away. Now you can see, I think you can see the shininess comes through. I'll try and move this around. Hopefully the lights will pick up the shine so that you can see them on camera. It's not a drastic shine, but it's definitely shiny. There's no doubt about that. It's almost sparkly on these little dots. Now I'm going to bring out the rest of the papers and we'll go through everything. All right, this was the first one we did, and I actually do think this is still wet here. That ended up being a really big puddle of it. But you can see a sheen, and you can see the texture of the watercolor paper through it. These are dry. Okay, this was mixed media paper, and I went to town a little on this, so I had some serious drippage when I was moving it to the other room to dry, but definitely shiny. Really pretty, actually. So I'm assuming that when you get used to using these things, you won't overspray and end up with drips like I did, unless you want that. I mean, that could be pretty too. You could go across the top of a piece of paper and then prop it up like that so it's nothing but shiny drips going down. That would be kind of cool. And this took a long time to dry, as you might expect. In fact, I'm thinking that middle blob in the yellow and maybe the green here, maybe a blob in the middle of the pink. It's possible there are still some wet spots on these, but anyway, the point being that yes, they do shine, even the thin sheen and where the bigger drips have dried. Very shiny, very pretty. It clearly has some sort of lacquer mixed into it, provides a shiny factor. Well, we had the big sheet of rice paper. Now it sank into this and I put it down on something else that had paper on it, which was a mistake. So when I pulled it up after everything dried, I pulled some other stuff along and ripped this bit. So this is a very porous paper, this rice paper. So obviously it absorbed the inks and there is no sheen left. So something else to remember. You're only going to get a sheen if there's a certain level of finish to your paper. This was plain old copy paper, but it wasn't sprayed on. It was pulled up by the paper the first time I sprayed it onto the gel plate. I love the way it sort of flattened out. It's shiny. It's definitely shiny, but you didn't end up with any big blobs that dried differently. So using the gel plate evened things out so it dried more evenly. And I love how it looks. That's beautiful. So of all of these, what do I love the best? Well, in both cases, I like the gel plate results best. So regular old copy paper, but pulled off of the gel plate straight after you spray it on, and then allowed to dry and pull after a layer of paint. Which one's your favorite? Let me know down in the comment section. Gel press, rice paper, alcohol ink paper, mixed media paper, or watercolor paper. Which do you like? The next time we get these sprays out, I am going to try spraying them into a silicone mold, letting them dry, and then pouring resin in to see what we get. We could even do two. We could do the inks in a mold and pour resin on that, and then the inks in a mold and pour aquacast on that, and see what we get. Subscribe to the channel, costs absolutely nothing, and you will get notifications when we do future videos. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll come back, we'll play with these some more. Thank you for joining me today. Stay safe, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. So I'm gonna take a tube of wow.